5 years ago today, I arrived in Seattle. I've told bits and pieces of this story over the years, and in some of my older videos, like the first ones, you can kind of see what I was going through, but I never really explained it.
Hello everyone, my name is Claire. Hi everyone. So, I'm going to be using the voice that I speak in normally.
Today, I kind of want to just talk about what I went through, how I got to be here, and where I am now, where I am going. Let's talk. "20 years of trust that's broken in a second. When you're kicked out by people who've raised you, trust is not something that comes naturally. On October 12th, I came out to my little brother. That was the one thing my parents didn't want me to do. They were afraid it would scar him. Transphobic. On October 14th, I had a chat with my stepmom and dad, and they had told me that I needed to move. I didn't realize how common this was at the time, and I got out of there as soon as I could. I packed up as much as I could. I went to my mom's place, came out to her that day, was expecting the same result. She accepted me, and then shortly after that, I drove out to Chicago on October 14th and met up with my friend Matt. Pretty much called him on the way there, and I told him that I got kicked out and that I needed to crash on his place, at his place. That next morning, we went and had breakfast together, and I then set out for Seattle. When I arrived in Seattle 3 days later, I did not have a place to sleep. I did not have a job lined up. I did not have anything other than some clothes on my back, my guitar, and my camera. I arrived in Capitol Hill, and this is the little tree that I slept under. It was a couple weeks before I actually got to find a place to stay. And when I finally did, that's when things started shifting. This is where I stayed and was able to find my footing in this city. Now, before I go any further, I want to mention that this is in part luck. But as somebody told me, you make your own luck. And they're right to an extent. Because I truly believe that if you think you can, you will. But if you think you can't, you won't. So much of what I went through in this beginning stage of my arrival here in Seattle was optimism and just believing that everything was going to turn out okay. Those choices that I made were because I was under the mindset that things would be okay. When you're in that sort of situation, it's important to be resourceful. It's important to look at the world around you and see the kindness that people offer. Eric was a part of the Burning Man community, and in the Burning Man community, there is this idea that you accept gifts when they're given, otherwise it can be seen as insulting for the gift giver. I learned that pretty quickly when I was living with him, and that idea has stuck with me since forever. And I think because of that, I'm quicker to say yes to things that are offered to me, which has in turn put me in a better place today. Eric invited me in for 3 days. I stayed about a week and a half. It's because of him that I was able to find a place to live. When I arrived in Ballard, the house that I stayed at was a sublease. In a way, this sort of gave me a sense of urgency, because for me, what was originally a 2-month sublease meant that I had 2 months to get a life that is self-sustaining and I can support myself. It meant that I needed to get a down payment for an additional apartment in 2 months. It meant that I needed to find an apartment. And at the time, Seattle hadn't passed any sort of rent ordinance, so I also needed first and last month's rent. I found a job at H&M. I was making minimum wage, which was about $11 an hour at the time. And I wasn't buying any food. I was going to the food bank. Unfortunately, when you eat at the food bank, if you are not there in a timely manner, all that is left is the things at the bottom of the barrel. Rotten food, rotten apples, moldy bread. You have a very minimum amount of food that is available to you, but you're so hungry that you eat it anyway. You pick away the moldy bread and you eat the other half of that bread. The 2 months that I was hanging out at this place in Ballard was by far the best time, I think, of my entire life. You're probably thinking, what the hell? You were literally talking about eating like moldy bread and starving, and yet it was the best time of my life. It was the best time of my life because I was optimistic about the future. I was optimistic about everything that was going to come, and I had this intuition that everything was going to be okay. Now, the rest of the story is sort of just putting one foot in front of the other. But there's one defining moment that actually pushed me over the edge. And when I was working for Goodwill, I eventually quit H&M. When I was working for Goodwill, a photographer came in looking to capture behind the scenes for marketing whatever they were doing. I approached that photographer and I said, "Are you hiring?" She said yes. That job as a photography assistant gave me the means to be self-supporting as an artist. I worked with her for a little over a year, about a year and a half. And over that year and a half, it was a very part-time, kind of sporadic job. But what it allowed me to do was find the ways to make money as an artist, to observe, to watch, to understand how to find clients, to figure it out. And that year and a half that I was with her gave me so much insight, so much so that I continue carrying that on today as I start a company. The one thing that this job did not teach me: community. so much of what I've learned, especially as a film producer, is that it takes a village, especially in the art world. So I have taken all the work that I have done over the last 5 years, plus some work from others, and combined them into what I'm calling a production house. This production house is called Little Gray Cat. Now, there is a lot more to go along with this project, and as I mentioned earlier, so much about succeeding in something is saying you can. And I know this project will go into the right direction. I've spent 5 years failing on small little projects or not failing, learning through these projects. So much of that time, I don't think I failed at all. Sure, things have maybe fallen flat, but it's because they've fallen flat that I've learned to grow from them. Now, the really cool thing that's coming up, like in 3 weeks, is that I'm going back to New York. Okay, I love this city. I love New York. New York is so much fun. This will be my 3rd time going to New York, my 2nd time for work, and I'm going for 2 reasons. I guess that was 4. The first one is going as a model, super fun. And the second one, and this is the one where you can participate. So if you've watched all the way to the end here, you get insider information now. I have a show. It's in Brooklyn. This is the location, and we're playing on Friday night. I think it's the 8th. I think that's the Friday, November 8th. I'll double check. I could be very wrong. So yeah, New York is right on the horizon. I've got this company that I've been working on for the last year called Little Gray Cat. And pretty much at this point, we're just writing new music. There's a new project that I'm working on as well, new music project. You may have heard some of the music in these videos. I've been silently adding it in. Some of the music that you've been hearing has been mine. And I'm just really excited for the future. I feel like right now is the very first time that I have a handle on what's to come. Like, I know what I have to do. I know how I have to do it. And I just gotta do it. We have a podcast coming out next year. I've been doing my weekly vlogs. I was thinking about doing daily vlogs, but I don't know if watching you send me emails all day is that exciting. I'm really excited for the future. And I just really thank you for being going along on this ride. So I think that's all I got today. If you do want to see sort of like where I came from, if you're a newer viewer of this channel, what I've mentioned in the beginning is mostly documented. Everything that I was recording, besides for the stuff in the car, was in that house in Ballard. So if you want to see where I came from and what I was going through and my vocal progression as well, please do that. I think next week I actually might do a voice lesson on YouTube. Oh, good stuff. The brain's going on. Alright, that's all I got for you today. Thank you so much for watching. Tripping over my words at the moment. And please subscribe, like, comment, share. I think that's all I got. Okay, bye.